Ladies and gentlemen, when we talk about soulmates, we often drift into the romantic, poetic, or emotional. But today, I want to take you deeper into the spiritual dimensions of human connection. Because a soulmate at its core is not merely someone who makes your heart flutter. It is someone who speaks the language of your soul. The first and most essential marker of a spiritual soulmate is resonance, not resemblance. You may not share the same background, preferences, or life experiences, but when your souls meet, there is a silent recognition, a calm in the noise, a sense that you've known this person before time had a name. This resonance cannot be manufactured or manipulated. It is felt. It is sensed, and it is spiritually undeniable. Never underestimate the power of spiritual discernment. Intuition is the whisper of the divine, and often, when you are spiritually grounded, you will simply know. You will see confirmations through dreams, scripture, prayer, or persistent inner peace. You won't need constant validation or emotional highs. You will just know, not in your head, but in your spirit. So how do you know someone is your spiritual soulmate? By the peace they bring to your spirit, the purpose they stir within you, and the divine alignment that surrounds your meeting. Love at the soul level is not about finding someone who completes you. It is about finding someone with whom you are already whole. And together, you expand. In today's world, the concept of connection is often reduced to surface-level traits. Common interests, physical chemistry, compatibility, and lifestyle or hobbies. But a spiritual soulmate transcends all of these dimensions. A spiritual soulmate connection is not born of similarity in taste or proximity of culture, but of resonance between two souls. It is not about finding someone who merely complements your life, but someone who aligns with your spiritual essence. To understand what this resonance means, it's helpful to consider that the soul is not confined to time, personality, or external form. It is eternal, energetic, and deeply intuitive. When two people meet who are spiritually connected, there is often an unexplainable sense of recognition, as though they have encountered each other before, perhaps in another life or on a deeper spiritual plane. This meeting is not accidental. It feels predestined, not in the romantic sense of fate, but in the divine sense of purpose. The soul-level recognition can happen quickly, sometimes even instantly. People report feeling a sense of familiarity, safety, and understanding that surpasses what they've experienced even in long-term relationships. It's not about knowing facts about the person. It's about knowing them without having to explain who you are. There is a harmony in presence. A silent conversation of the spirit. What's striking about this kind of connection is that it doesn't depend on physical attraction or external qualities, although those may also be present. Spiritual soulmates may look completely mismatched to outsiders, but they carry a shared frequency. This is why spiritual soulmate bonds are often described as a home. You don't arrive at them, you return to them. Another way to identify this soul-level resonance is through how the person affects your energy. While many relationships ignite emotion and desire, a spiritual soulmate awakens inner stillness and clarity. You feel more yourself in their presence, not less. You feel more aligned, more conscious, and more alive. You don't need to be guarded, perform, or impress. The soul knows no masks. And importantly, a soul-level connection does not necessarily guarantee a conflict-free relationship. In fact, a spiritual soulmate often reflects the parts of you that need healing, growth, or reawakening. They do not exist to indulge your comfort. They exist to stir your purpose. And yet, even when challenges arise, there is a sacred respect and intuitive understanding that undergirds every disagreement. You feel seen in your essence, not just your behavior. This kind of connection also tends to be non-dependent. There is no clinging or chasing. Instead, there is mutual honoring of each other's journey. Spiritual soulmates value each other's individual growth as much as the connection itself. There is no threat in independence, no anxiety in silence. The connection exists not just in conversation, but in presence, silence, and intention. The resonance of soulmates can be identified through peace. Not just excitement, not just chemistry, but peace. The kind that silences your doubts without words, that fills your spiritual lungs with breath, that reminds you that love is not about finding a perfect person, but encountering someone with whom your soul can finally rest and rise. This level of connection cannot be forced. It cannot be strategized. It is experienced, and it is remembered by your soul long before your mind is caught up. One of the most overlooked but essential signs of a spiritual soulmate connection is the presence of divine timing and effortless alignment. These two concepts, while often mentioned in spiritual and religious circles, hold deep psychological and energetic truth. The spiritual soulmate does not arrive on your timeline. They arrive on divine timing, when your inner world is prepared to recognize and receive them. Many people chase relationships based on personal desire, emotional need, or social expectation. But a spiritual soulmate comes not when you want someone, but when you are ready to walk in partnership with someone who reflects your spiritual truth. Readiness here is not about having a perfect life, career, or emotional track record. It's about spiritual maturity, a place within you where you no longer seek completion in another human being, but are prepared to walk in purposeful companion. Divine timing often feels inconvenient to the ego, but deeply satisfying to the soul. It doesn't conform to your plans. It reveals a higher plan. You may meet this person after a long season of solitude, heartbreak, or healing, or they may appear at a turning point in your life when you're about to give up, make a major decision, or step into a new chapter. The timing carries meaning that transcends logic. It's as if something greater was orchestrating the moment. Alongside divine timing is the experience of effortless alignment. This does not mean the relationship is free from effort altogether. Rather, the foundation of connection feels natural, unforced, and divinely supported. You don't have to twist yourself to fit. You don't need to beg for attention, manufacture interest, or carry the relationship on your own energy. There's a mutual flow, an ease of understanding, and a rhythm that matches your soul's cadence. Effortless alignment shows up in many ways. You may share deep values without having to debate them. Now, your life directions, though different, complement each other. You begin to notice that your paths, once separate, seem to be converging through shared goals, visions, or even challenges that require a unified spirit. This alignment doesn't come from compromise. It comes from compatibility at the level of calling. Timing and alignment are spiritual fingerprints of divine orchestration. While others may come into your life and leave confusion, this connection brings a sense of clarity and confirmation. You feel that your meeting was not coincidence but consequence, a response to years of inner work, prayer, and alignment with your true self. It feels sacred, not scripted. Another sign of divine timing is that the soulmate connection often arises after you've let go, not just of relationships, but of attachment to how love should look. In surrendering your control, you create space for the spiritual to intervene. And when it does, it brings someone who doesn't just meet your expectations. They often redefine them through grace, honesty, and spiritual resonance. When you are with someone aligned with your spirit, the need for constant validation diminishes. The relationship feels guided. You experience synchronicities, shared dreams, timely messages, confirmations in prayer or scripture, or inexplicable peace. These are not just signs, they are signatures of divine timing. Effortless alignment does not imply a lack of growth, but it does mean that growth happens with support, not resistance. The connection expands you while grounding you. It teaches you, but it doesn't tear you apart. And most of all, it honors the timing of your soul's readiness to love and be loved in truth. One of the most reliable signs that you've encountered a spiritual soulmate is the experience of inner peace, personal growth, and mutual spiritual awakening. Unlike relationships that thrive on emotional highs or physical intensity alone, a spiritual bond touches the core of who you are, inspiring transformation not through force but through presence, purpose, and alignment. First, consider the nature, inner peace. In many relationships, people confuse excitement, intensity, or drama with love. However, a spiritual soulmate brings something deeper: stillness. This peace doesn't come from external circumstances being perfect, but from the deep recognition between two souls who were meant to find each other. It feels like rest, not escape. You are not walking on eggshells. You are not trying to prove your worth. You are simply safe, emotionally, spiritually, and energetically. This peace is not shallow comfort. It's profound grounding. You begin to notice that when you are with this person, your thoughts quiet down. Your anxiety lessens. Your heart rate slows. This is because their energy doesn't agitate your nervous system. It harmonizes with it. Peace is one of the most authentic spiritual signs because it cannot be faked or forced. When someone is spiritually aligned with your soul, their presence brings divine reassurance. Alongside peace comes growth. A spiritual soulmate will not let you remain stagnant. Their love encourages healing, not enabling. Their presence inspires elevation, not control. Growth in a spiritual relationship is not about fixing one another. It's about awakening the highest version of each other. This may happen through deep conversations, challenges that reveal your strengths, or even the mirror effect, where their actions reveal your blind spots, not in judgment, but in invitation. Importantly, growth in a spiritual relationship is mutual. Both individuals feel inspired to evolve, not just in career or emotional intelligence, but in their inner lives. You find yourselves wanting to be more patient, more honest, more compassionate, not for their approval, but because the connection itself draws you upward. This growth is often subtle but unmistakable. You begin to make healthier decisions. You pray more. You forgive quicker. You live with intention. But the most defining trait of a spiritual soulmate bond is mutual spiritual awakening. This is where the connection moves beyond romance and into divine purpose. Two spiritually connected souls come together. There is a shared realization that their union is not only about each other, it's about something big. You may find yourselves growing closer to your faith, becoming more intuitive, or developing a clearer understanding of your personal mission. This awakening often feels like remembering something you didn't know you forgot. Mutual awakening is not always dramatic. Sometimes it's quiet and gradual, marked by a shared hunger for truth, for spiritual growth, or for serving others. Sometimes one person begins awakening first, and their journey encourages the other to rise as well. This dynamic is sacred because it does not demand conformity. It nurtures authenticity. Each person becomes more of who they truly are, not less. This kind of bond often leads to shared spiritual practices. You may begin praying together, meditating, studying sacred text, or even pursuing shared spiritual goals. These practices aren't rituals for ritual's sake. They become expressions of your connected purpose. The relationship becomes a vessel through which both individuals grow closer to the divine, and as a result, closer to each other. In essence, a true spiritual connection brings peace that calms the soul, growth that strengthens the spirit, an awakening that lifts both individuals into deeper purpose. It is not just a partnership, it is a path. Recognizing a spiritual soulmate is not a matter of wishful thinking or emotional infatuation. It is a process that requires spiritual discernment, which is the ability to perceive beyond appearances and interpret divine direction with clarity. In matters as sacred as a soulmate connection, discernment becomes your most important compass, guiding you not by impulse, but by spiritually grounded insight. This discernment is activated through three powerful tools: intuition, prayer, and spiritual signs. First, we begin with intuition, often described as the inner voice, gut feeling, or knowing beyond logic. Intuition is your soul's direct line to truth. When you meet someone spiritually significant, your intuition may respond before your mind has even made sense of it. You may feel a quiet knowing, a pull toward the person, or an unexplainable comfort in their presence. Unlike emotional attraction, which can be influenced by desire or past wounds, intuitive knowing is calm, clear, and consistent. It's important to distinguish intuition from anxiety or overthinking. Intuition does not shout, it whispers. It does not create confusion, it reveals clarity. When you are in tune with your inner voice, you begin to sense not only who someone is, but who they are in your life spiritually. This internal guidance can show up through body awareness, such as peace in your chest or tension in your stomach, through dreams, or even through moments of stillness when you feel clarity without explanation. Next is prayer, a vital practice in seeking divine wisdom beyond your own understanding. Prayer invites you to slow down and listen, not only speak. When you bring your relationship or potential soulmate connection before God, the universe, or your higher power, you create space for divine confirmation or redirection. You are saying, not my will, but divine wisdom be done. This surrender allows you to see the connection from a spiritual perspective, rather than through emotional bias. Prayer is not just about getting a yes or no, it's about alignment. Through it, you may receive peace about the person, or you may feel hesitation that reveals deeper truths. You may find scriptures, insights, or impressions that help you understand the purpose of this person in your life. Often, clarity comes not in the moment of asking, but in the days or weeks that follow, when you notice a shift in your perception or see consistent patterns unfold. Finally, we must pay attention to spiritual signs. These are confirmations that appear externally to affirm what is already being revealed internally. A spiritual sign can come through repeated symbols, numbers, phrases, or messages that seem to follow you. They may arrive through a sermon, a conversation with a stranger, or even a song that resonates deeply in your spirit at just the right time. While these signs should never replace intuition or prayer, they often serve as echoes of divine guidance. A true spiritual soulmate connection will be confirmed by a sense of inner alignment, spiritual peace, and external signs that match your spiritual understanding. You will not need to manipulate, control, or manufacture the relationship. Discernment helps you distinguish between a distraction and a destiny. It teaches you to wait when your spirit is unsure, and to move forward only when there is peace, clarity, and purpose. Discernment is not a one-time event, it is a process. It requires patience, honesty, and the courage to walk away from connections that don't resonate with your soul. But when the right person appears, and the signs, intuition, and prayer all align, you will know, not with emotional urgency, but with spiritual certainty. The journey of recognizing a spiritual soulmate is not about finding perfection in another person, but about perceiving divine alignment in the connection. As we've explored, a true soulmate is someone with whom your soul resonates beyond the surface, someone who arrives in your life not by chance, but through divine timing, and someone whose presence brings peace, growth, and awakening rather than confusion or dependency. Such a connection does not demand proof through possession. It reveals itself through discernment, through intuition, through prayer, and through consistent spiritual signs. It is not just about who makes your heart race, but about who helps your spirit rise. It's not a fantasy of romance. It is a partnership of purpose, one that nourishes your soul, challenges your character, and reflects the deeper work of love that the Creator is doing in and through you. So if you find yourself wondering whether someone is your soulmate, do not rush the answer. Instead, quiet your mind, listen with your spirit, pray for clarity, and watch how peace, alignment, and purpose begin to unfold. The soul recognizes what the eyes cannot always see,